In a world of artificial intelligence, are financial advisors becoming obsolete? Let's talk about the pros and cons of AI with your financial planning.
Welcome to Something More with Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd is a certified financial planner practitioner and senior vice president financial advisor at Wealth Enhancement Group, one of the nation's largest registered investment advisors. We call it Something More because we'd like to talk not only about those important dollar and cents issues, but also the quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Here he is, your fulfillment facilitator, your partner in prosperity, advising clients on Cape Cod and across the country. Here's your host, J. Christopher Boyd.
Welcome again to Something More with Chris Boyd. Thanks for being with us. I'm Chris Boyd. I'm here with Jeff Perry and Russ Ball. We are all of the AMR team and glad to have you with us. Another episode where this time we're talking about artificial intelligence, some of the pros and cons, things to be thinking about. I came across an interesting article and thought this was one of the things people are thinking about, and it's the time of year where we talk a lot about financial planning, so thought it might be a topic worth revisiting. When you think about a financial plan, doing financial planning, by the way, I hear your chair creaking every time.
You know, it's chronic. I should ask AI how to fix my squeaky chair because I used all the knowledge that I know to make it less squeaky, and it's back again.
Just wanted to start with this notion of, when you think about a financial plan, there are some things that you can get out of a AI program, probably some good basic details that could be helpful, some lessons, some tips. Russ, you're thinking like you got something to add?
Of course, we've all been playing around with AI over the last couple of years. And when it comes to financial planning, it's typically, your one question of input and then you get an answer. It doesn't really look at everything. I know there are new apps and new, companies coming out with different products that can take a look at all the accounts that you might have if you have a few checking accounts and all that and put it all together.
Yeah.
It's difficult with some of the hallucinations that AI goes through. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but I've found that there are times when it's extremely useful, and there are times when if you don't know the next question to ask, for example, it's kind of useless, or it'll just give you an isolated answer that doesn't really take anything else into account.
This must be, I know we're going to talk about AI versus financial planner, but the thing that when you were introing, Chris, I went right to is physicians. I mean, people have been Googling symptoms for years, but this just must put that whole thing on doctors, lawyers, financial planners, other professionals. It just magnifies what people think that they might know. And I know every time I make a diagnosis with using the internet, I'm wrong. So
and panicked in addition to it. I had someone come in the other day and they were saying how they use some programs. These may not have been AI necessarily, but it was just they were trying to get their hands around a financial plan, and they started using some general programs, and they found that everything was, peaches and cream and rosy and nothing to worry about. When we did the actual financial plan, we took into account things that they might not have considered, perhaps. We asked them some questions about expenses in a way that might be a little bit more engaged, a deeper dive.
Well, that's right to Russ's point. Like, what's the next question that you're supposed to ask?
Yeah.
AI answers the question you've asked, but doesn't know the next, or doesn't pose the next question to ask.
Yes. Yeah. So, so I think the more you want to tailor your planning, the more you might need some involvement on the human level. I think we find that there's a whole element of a conversation we have, Russ, when we're talking about a financial plan that it involves family dynamics. It involves aspirations, fears,
Yep.
anxieties,
Mhm.
priorities. So some of this that's maybe on an emotional level
Totally.
to some extent. That's not the kind of thing you're going to put into your query with Copilot or Chat GPT or whatever.
Right. I mean, it'll take the input and it'll give you an output, and
Yeah.
usually it's based on some kind of math. If it's will this money get me this far or whatever. But a lot of the time, it's not the most optimal mathematical decision that ends up being the one that people choose.
That's a great point. The most common question we get asked, maybe not I think it's among the most common questions.
Right.
Should I pay off my mortgage? And there's a math question involved.
Correct.
Hey, I'm getting 6% on interest rate on my investments, but my mortgage is under 3 or whatever it really is, but some number.
Mhm.
Should I pay off my mortgage? Well, the arithmetic of that is, why would you? Right?
Mhm.
Now there's risk in my portfolio. If my cash is getting me greater than 3, then it's a no-brainer. You're keeping that mortgage, right?
Yeah, but you could ask the same person who has not the same person, but another person who has a paid off mortgage and say, hey, you can get a mortgage for 4% and invest it and get 6. Do you want to take a mortgage out on your house?
It's a great point. And no, people would generally be like,
no.
But I think what we often talk about with people is the math is one way to answer the question, the arithmetic of it.
Right.
But that's not always what drives what people decide. To your point, sometimes it's about comfort, and that's to your point, Jeff, that it might be better math, but do you really want leverage against your home as your sort of comfort of safety zone and never have to worry about that kind of mindset? Most people would rather have no debt on their home as a comfort, particularly in the instance of, well, if one of us in the couple dies, we want there to be like absolutes and confidence. And there's an emotional dimension to this, is my point, that's also a legitimate way to answer this, that I'll be more comfortable. I'll have less stress in my life. That's valid, right?
All
Not
related
necessarily a
to
math equation.
Right. All related to risk. A debt is risk. Investing, there is risk. And so when Gemini or whoever is answering you, they have no idea what your own risk tolerance is, or fears, or dreams, or aspirations, or they just don't know you. And that's the first thing that we do when we meet with a new client or during our annual reviews, is we're not talking about formulas or investment portfolios. We're talking about life changes. Who are you? Anything that's happened, health. These AI programs are not doing that. And so if you don't know someone, it's difficult. How many times does someone come up to a professional and say, I have a question for you, and you don't know them? You can't answer the question. A doctor, lawyer, financial planner can't answer the question. Is Google a good investment? Maybe,
And it depends, right?
It depends, right?
It depends. One of the things that I think, as you answer a question like this, it might depend on who you are. There's a lot of people who are do-it-yourselfers, and they may be quite capable of spending the time, developing the expertise. Jeff, you, before you were a professional, you were actively reading books on personal finance, attending seminars and conferences on topics. You were an active, engaged,
listening to the Chris Boyd show.
That's right. But as an independent individual, you were like, I can do this, and you had the interest and passion and enjoyed it.
I did.
And some people are like that, right?
But when I got to the point where I was thinking about ending my accumulation phase, I, with all of that knowledge and years of, you forget I was part of an investment group. I mean, I was all in.
Yeah.
I sought a professional to say, which was you, by the way.
Yes.
I went to see Chris Boyd. I wasn't a client at the time, but I went there to say, this is what I've been doing. This is what I have. This is my thought. This is my plan. What am I missing? Right?
Yeah,
Because
second set of eyes.
I can
right?
answer at that time, I could answer the questions that I ask myself, but what you don't know, what you don't know.
Right.
Right?
And so that's I think the difference. If you're someone, like you were before being a professional, maybe the assistance of artificial intelligence will be supportive and helpful and drive you down a path to say, I'm going to go investigate this and I'm going to learn things. But for most people that come to a financial advisor, they don't want to be dealing with this as much. They want to be able to
That's
get
true.
help and delegate it. So when, the question of, are you better off with a financial advisor? Are you better off with artificial intelligence? We can go back to it depends, but it might depend on your personality and the level of interest and time that you're willing to dedicate to your financial planning, portfolio management, etc.
I don't even go that far, though.
We
I
find
don't
most
go
people
that
who come into a service like ours benefit because A, they're not experts. They don't want to be experts, and they want to be able to delegate a lot of this. And B, there might be things they're missing. Your point about, second set of eyes. What am I missing? There are often times that there are things that we sometimes get myopic in the way we approach things, and we have sort of our blinders of this is the way we see it.
Right. We all do that.
And we've kind of built our own box, so to speak. You know what I mean? And sometimes a second set of eyes will challenge that in a way you go, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. It opens up a different way of thinking.
I appreciate the way you framed it, using me as an example. But with the experience that I have had over the last 5 years with you, and quite frankly with the internet, broadly speaking, and where we are, I don't think it depends. I mean, if you're young and you're accumulating, you don't have a lot of assets, that's fine. You can figure it out if you put the time in. But at some point, when you're getting near retirement and near a big financial decision, I wouldn't trust AI for a couple of reasons. One, we can talk about it. It makes mistakes.
Yeah.
But two is to make a decision, a big decision, say like a retirement decision. You need real data. Like you need to review someone needs to review your statements. You need to do some projections. You need to make some assumptions. You need to think about the what ifs, including your own health, your own mortality. And these are data points, whether it's your own investment statements or your own health history or your own risk assessment, that I don't think people should feel comfortable putting into AI. I mean, what are you going to do? Download your statement into AI and your medical chart and say, how long do you think I'm going to live and how much can I spend? I mean,
maybe someday, but not yet, right?
Well, even if it can't do that right now, but let's say it could do that. With all the hacks and frauds and scams.
Yeah.
I think you're opening the more data you put into things on the internet, the more data that the internet has about you. So, and if you put in bad data, you get a bad result, or insufficient data, you get an inefficient result. So,
yeah,
I think for most people, it's good if you want to look up a term you don't know or a product that maybe you heard about. You can get some information about it. But I don't think it's a good decision-making tool for things like legal advice, medical advice, financial planning. It's not there yet, and I don't know if it ever will be because of the personal nature of data that you have to share with it to get an end result that makes sense for you individually.
Russ, you want to
yeah. I think a lot of these large language models like Gemini and Copilot, they're built to answer you or to agree with you to some degree,
to some
right?
extent.
To some extent. So if you're very convinced of something in your financial planning picture and you're talking to AI about it, going
How
back
you
and forth.
phrase it in the way you put the input. Yeah.
Exactly. It might end up agreeing with you if it's not the most accurate, or at least
That's true.
sugarcoating what it's saying to make it seem like you're making the right decision. One area I think about it with AI a lot is like if someone is debating, do I move to cash, doing some market timing, and oh my gosh, is the market gonna crash tomorrow? And you don't really have that level of coaching that we talk about a lot on the behavioral side of like, let's take a step back, let's look at the big picture. If you ask a question like that to AI, it's going to give you like, well, here's why,
pros and cons.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, here's what the market's looking like right now, and it might make you make the wrong decision on the pulling out or putting too much money in or whatever it might be.
Jeff, let's talk about one other thing, and that is personality types. A lot of times people come to a financial professional, it's because they want or need a coach. They need an accountability partner. Again, someday that might be what artificial intelligence can do. Is that really where it's at today? To help you stay on track and keep moving the ball forward, so to speak, in your planning?
No, I
You know
don't
what I mean?
think it's not even close to being possible. We talk about that. It's a bit getting old now, but it's still relevant. The Vanguard study,
Yes.
where they put some. They tried to put some alpha. They tried to put some numbers to the financial value of having a financial advisor, and the biggest chunk benefit is what you and Russ are talking about, is that behavioral coaching. Because if when we were talking about this on a previous episode with Brian Regan, if when President Trump made the decision or talked about the tariffs, Liberation Day, and you asked AI, I'm nervous, should I sell on Liberation Day? It could very well convince you to sell because you just used the word nervous, right? However that works.
Yeah.
And we know that it might have been good for about a week, that decision, but long term, it was a great year. It was a good year, as we say.
Yeah, I mean, double-digit equity returns if you stayed in from start to finish.
Yeah, and if you're talking to an advisor, they'll get the right asset allocation based upon your risk assessment. And if you do decide to do something, we'll actually call you back. I don't think AI is going to check in and say, do you think it's time to get back into the market?
Right.
I want to go ahead.
Or when it comes to, I'm thinking of doing this purchase, or how's this affect my financial plan? I'm thinking of relocating. I'm thinking of a new job. I'm, whatever it is. How does this affect my benefits? Or, try to think about what's the cost of some of this stuff? What's the financial implications long term when you have these, life-changing events,
Yeah. And now or in the foreseeable future, AI is not going to ask you or say, congratulations on having your first grandchild. Do you think you should open a 529?
Yeah.
And to Russ's earlier point, this may just be more humorous, but it's factual, so people should really think about this. AI is trying to be your friend. They are trying to be favorable. Alexa's upgrade, which is now AI, is now a Patriots fan because it knows that I am.
Because you're a Patriots fan.
Because I would ask, somebody injured, what's the line? I don't bet, but I like to know the line.
Yeah.
And now if I say something like, when's the Patriots kickoff? She will start with, yes, the Patriots are doing great this year, And
a little chit chat, huh?
It's learned that I am interested in it. I like it. So she is favorable to it. And, that large language model is trying to be our friend. So we use it more, and we're using it more, but its goal is to get information from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's it.
Right.
That is its goal.
Right. So it can market products and so forth. Yeah.
Its goal is not to help us, folks. Just to be clear, it's not a utilitarian friend out there. Its goal is to get information from us so it can serve us better, which means market us better, which means sell us products and services. I think people know that, but it needs to be said.
You might forget that sometimes.
You might.
Yeah.
This thing needs to make money at some point, right?
All right. Well, with that in mind, I think, there's a lot of reasons, but, I think I'm going to bring it back to this time of year when we do a lot of financial planning for people because of they're more mindful of, hey, I really need to be thinking about my future. I'm 2 years away from retirement, or, gee, we're dealing with this healthcare event. What are the implications? Oh, we recently had a loss in the family. How do we navigate this? I'm not used to dealing with, these decisions. Fill in the blank, right? There's all these different, had a job change, considering a job change, whatever, right? And sometimes it's just, hey, it's a new year. I've been putting this off. Maybe now's the time. I'm gonna try and eat right and get and exercise more. I'm going to try and do my financial plan and portfolio, get things in order better, that kind of thing. That's often because of the new year, people are motivated to take advantage of these kind of things. So knowing that, we plan for this every year to offer this complimentary consultation, and we want you to take advantage if it's something you could benefit from. It's no strings, there's no obligation. We find that if we do a good job explaining things and helping people understand their circumstances, and oftentimes how we would handle things and what those differences are, some people end up wanting to work with us because they're impressed by what we do. And you may find that that's your situation, but if not, we still offer this complimentary consultation. It is a 2-meeting process. We start with gathering all the information about you and your financial life, and candidly, some of the other parts of your life, family and aspirations, and so forth, as we talked about, goals and fears and so forth. And we try to navigate that. And then we put it all together with, assets, liabilities, income, expenses, today's income, tomorrow's income, tomorrow's expenses, as well as today's. What you have for insurances and risk mitigation resources that you might have already, obtained. What you're doing for an estate plan, how you've structured that, and gather all this kind of information. Some other things too, I'm sure. Goals are a big part of that. But then we put together a pretty thorough review and analysis of your circumstances, try to forecast how this plays out over time, and then evaluate what's going on in the way you've structured things. Most times people have collected investments and haven't really structured their investments as much. So this is an opportunity, fresh set of eyes. Let's think about, how would we do this if we were starting today? Now, we can't always just make changes because there might be tax implications or reasons that it doesn't make sense, but we can bring about some thinking about thematic investing and tax planning, and do we need coverages that we may have gotten in the past, or maybe we need more than we have, whatever it might be. Take a comprehensive look at this and then put it into this context.
Yep.
Russ, do you want to comment about that? Because you're, deeply involved in that process for most instances when we have people coming in.
Yeah, I think, just getting a second set of eyes on how your portfolio is structured, I think is really helpful. As Chris mentioned, you have people with a few stocks over here in one account, then they forgot about that, and they have an old 401k sitting over there, and then some mutual funds at different mutual fund holders, and it's not really a cohesive strategy. And we like to take a look at that and optimize what you're doing and try to have it all fit together. Another piece that you did mention that's really important is, do we have enough liquidity? Is there enough of a cash reserve? If you're retired, what's the best, most optimal way to draw that liquidity from your accounts? So,
and then we do stress testing. Mm-hmm. What if one of us dies soon? What happens in that circumstance? What if we live a really long time and there's healthcare costs that go into that, or just the costs of spending? What happens then? What if markets move? What if taxes go up? What if Social Security goes down? When should I optimize my Social Security decision? Should I be thinking about Roth conversions or investing in my Roth 401k account, et cetera, et cetera? There's like so many things that need to be considered that we try to be attentive to and give people guidance on. So if you find that you would benefit from this kind of a conversation, don't delay, take advantage of reaching out to us, putting up the information as we close out the show. And just want to thank you for being, and by the way, if you're not watching, if you're listening on the podcast, the telephone number to reach us is 866-771-8901, or an email, amr-info@Wealth Enhancement, and know that you can find our show both on audio version on podcast or on YouTube through the Wealth Enhancement page, as well as on our own website page. You can go to somethingmorewithchrisboyd.com or wealthenhancement.com/AMR. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for your input. Until next time, we hope everyone does well with their financial plan and keep striving for something more.
Thank you for listening to Something More with Chris Boyd. Call us for help, whether it's for financial planning or portfolio management, insurance concerns, or those quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Whatever's on your mind, visit us at somethingmorewithchrisboyd.com or call us toll free at 866-771-8901, or send us your questions to amr-info@wealthenhancement.com. You're listening to Something More with Chris Boyd Financial Talk Show. Wealth Enhancement Advisory Services and J. Christopher Boyd provide investment advice on an individual basis to clients only. Proper advice depends on a complete analysis of all facts and circumstances. The information given on this program is general financial comments and cannot be relied upon as pertaining to your specific situation. Wealth Enhancement Group cannot guarantee that using the information from this show will generate profits or ensure freedom from loss. Listeners should consult their own financial advisors or conduct their own due diligence before making any financial decisions.